What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I wanted to do a quick video to recap some things that have been happening in the TTRPG space as over the past, really, just past day and a half. So it covers a variety of different things that have been going on. So let's just kind of go through all of them, all right? So first of all, we have this from D&D Beyond, and they said they wanted to thank you for continuing to share OGL 1.2 feedback with us. Already, this was yesterday. 10,000 people had responded to the survey, which will close on February 3rd. But that's not the kind of big takeaway. The subsequent tweets, rather, here are what kind of drew my attention. So let's take a look. So far, survey responses have made it clear that this draft of the OGL 1.2 hasn't hit the mark for our community. Please continue to share your thoughts. So this does, again, very pessimistic on this, but it does appear as though they are seemingly at least addressing the community here in that they are agreeing that based on what we've sent in so far, it hasn't really hit the mark that we're looking for. Thanks to direct feedback from you and our virtual tabletop partners, it's also clear that the draft VTT policy missed the mark. Animations were clearly the wrong focus. We'll do better next round. We will continue to keep an article updated with any new details posted here or elsewhere, and this was kind of the FAQ article. So if you were to continue to read down, you'll see lots of people chiming in with their thoughts, which is pretty cool. But again, take it with a grain of salt, right? It's what we see so far. But from that, them trying at least seeming to make good on their promise about being open and forthright with the communications and the survey feedback, they're saying virtual tabletops, people didn't like it. They're also saying that the animation part of virtual tabletop was something not to focus on, which is good because that was a thing people had brought up. And then also the concept of it not being exactly what everybody wants. So who knows where we'll ultimately end up? Will they add more stuff to the Creative Commons license? I don't know, but I'll continue to cover it as best I can. Again, news journalist for Gizmodo and the person who broke the kind of OGL 1.1 leak, originally showing everything, Lynn Kodega, who has been out there constantly putting news regarding everything that's been happening here, was on NPR. So I'll have a link to that here. Also on NPR was Griffin from Griffin's Saddlebag. So there was again, D&D and this OGL controversy has made it to NPR, so I'll put a link to this in the description as well. If you missed it, Critical Role announced a whole bunch of new stuff as far as their animated series and things have goes. If you're unfamiliar, last year Critical Role released the very successful Kickstarter, finally came to pass, and now it's on Amazon. The Season 1 of Legends of Vox Machina. Season 2 has started as of last Friday. The first 3 episodes dropped on Amazon. I watched it. I enjoy it. It's also very interesting because if you're unfamiliar, it technically doesn't have anything to do with Dungeons and Dragons. Like, it's a fantasy thing and we know what it was based on, but the show is very clever in how it avoids tying anything directly to D&D. So again, new episodes are dropping every Friday on Amazon Prime. But they also went out and said yesterday, this was about 2 o'clock yesterday, this article broke from comicbook.com. They announced a new multi-year deal with Amazon Studios, which includes an exclusive overall television and first look film deal, which is, I'm not really surprised at this. I'm just making sure my white balance isn't all funky. But they're going to continue to do this. I'm sure Amazon is like, man, this was a good call. This thing is printing money, essentially, as people watch this. Additionally, Amazon Studios announced that the new series under this deal will be Mighty Nine. So again, if you're unfamiliar with Critical Role, Season 1, Campaign 1, right, of Critical Role was the Vox Machina story. This was the one that they had started in their home game and then brought on to Geek and Sundry at the time, and then eventually finished that out. And then they started their second series with their new campaign, a different time in the history of the world, different characters, and that group was called the Mighty Nine. So that's the second campaign. Production of this series is set to begin soon and will debut on Prime Video. Mighty Nine will be executive produced, and we can see the team again alongside Critical Role's Meta Pigeon banner. If again, I'll have a link to this, but if you didn't know what the Meta Pigeon is, That's a like tongue-in-cheek kind of joke from within the Critical Role group, where basically someone metagames and they make it sound like pigeon. It's a you'll see that has a list of every instance of the meta pigeon on the Critical Role wiki, but either way, it says a particular note is Critical Role will produce the series under its production banner MetaPigeon and will develop its own original television series, films, and content outside of just this. The announcement notes that MetaPigeon will work on projects both in and outside of the Critical Role universe as part of the deal. That's really interesting too, because what could that ultimately mean? Uh, who knows, right? Could Critical Role become a studio that helps other campaigns and other groups produce their TTRPGs campaigns into shows? Again, that may be a little ambitious at the time, but if they do crossover events with other groups or things of that nature, you could maybe have something like that happen. Seeing the stories and characters from our first campaign come to life in Legend of Vox Machina was a dream realized, and we were absolutely buzzing with excitement to do it again with Mighty Nine. But with today's announcement, we're confident that the stories we tell will keep expanding into realms of entertainment beyond what we can even imagine. So who knows, right? Maybe Critical Role does a sci-fi show, and then they do a sci-fi animated series. Well, fans will have to wait for Mighty Nine for a while longer. Season 2 of Legends of Vox Machina is currently airing on Prime Video. So, again, they're continuing on producing. I think they even said in a different article that they're working on Season 3 of Legends of Vox Machina, unless that was supposed to be that Season 3 of Vox Machina was Mighty Nine. But either way, Critical Role is going out of their way to, expand their digital arm. And I mean the animation quality is there. I mean the story was always good. I was never in question. And then lastly, I wanted to touch on a couple things from the world of D&D. A new trailer released for the D&D. This is not it. A new trailer released for the D&D movie. And I just thought it was interesting that the directors basically released a statement about the owlbear. I thought that was interesting. Basically saying like that it was. I mean, for a little while, there was a lot of controversy around the fact that the druid in the trailer turns into an owlbear, which many people who know the rules of the game said that's a monstrosity. Druids can't turn into that. They can only turn into beasts. And I thought it was interesting that the co-directors basically put a statement out about it. We're aware that there was a certain amount of controversy that emerged in the D&D fan community after the first trailer showed our druid wild shaping into an owlbear, and it was something we discussed a great deal when we were writing it. We know that technically it's not permissible, but we subscribe to the rule of cool, and we felt that if we, as the dungeon masters of this movie, would let our players do this, then why should we deprive the audience of something that is as cool and fun as this? So there's your official answer as to why. It's just the rule of cool. It's not like this tiefling druid has some unique special ability that lets her do it. It's just that the DM said it was okay. And lastly, this I also thought was interesting. I'll just touch on this really quick. Keys from the Golden Vault, the new D&D book, comes out next month. And basically, they released the covers. Here you can see, we know it's a heist-based anthology. There is a standard cover, and it also has a limited edition cover that you can see right here. But even the article touches on it here, right? With little fanfare. And I've seen other articles on this as well. And it's very interesting how they're still pushing forward with their production schedule for things, but given the current OGL controversy, they're just they're not promoting stuff. Like stuff's coming out, but they're not going out of their way to be like, "Hey, check out our cool new 5e product." They're just like, "Hey, this will just under the radar. This comes out." Let's see. Yeah, anthology with no fanfare or promotional push. Does it say, the muted rollout appears to be a sign of the continued fallout of a disastrous attempted rollout of the new open gaming license, which provides legal framework for creating third-party content. The new open gaming license contains several massive changes and restrictions, leading to grassroots revolt by third-party publishers and fans. While Wizards is now actively engaging with the D&D community on crafting a new open game license, the brand is facing heightened scrutiny and negative comments on almost every social media post makes it, especially as Wizards appears to be budging on several key points critical to the community. Yeah, I also wanted to just bring up that they said that they're taking the OGL and they're playtesting it. Just a poor choice of words. I get that. I think they even said the reason. I think I might have even covered this in my last video. The reason they called it playtest is because they're using the same format that they do for the Unearthed Arcana. But you shouldn't be playtesting a legal document. That just sounds poor, like poor word choice, in my opinion. Um, Either way, again, to that point about the little fanfare for Keys from the Golden Vault, that also, I think, again, I covered it briefly in the last video, and the lack of Unearthed Arcana playtest material, and I think that also may be like, maybe we should cool our jets on that, because they did close the Unearthed Arcana for the 1D&D Cleric last week, and routinely when the survey closes, usually the next week, around the Monday or Tuesday of the following week, they release the new Unearthed Arcana for the next set of playtest. For this, should be Paladin and Druid. And we are almost through the entire week following the close of the survey, which, by the way, the survey closed also with little fanfare and no promotion about, hey, the survey closes on the 20th, please go fill it out. So I wonder if they're going to pause the 1D&D playtest, if they just taking a week off to let things kind of settle, and will they release it next week? Or will they ultimately just keep it on, like, not say anything for a little bit, and then just hope that this OGL thing can get somewhat resolved before they decide to be like, hey, maybe we've won enough good faith back that we can start promoting the playtest for the edition that this new version of the OGL is, centered around. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, and I will see you all next time.